Yes. Bueno, bueno, charo. Yo nyare nyare. Plus. Work plus postgraduate. Always one convention. If you want to find person back, I'm fine. I'm cool. I'll go how my youngest in your class. You know, I'm going for assignments. Oh my God. Young will take class from Jennifer. I don't know why I would have. So I'm getting that for young man extension or now return young man that guy. Yes, I thought what was the car pull out. Yeah, a book on a young to a young extension 5 years. Your system. Two young at my hand is shut. Is it? Then that's a part. Students back and work. I work around what's that all? Hello? Hello, Gloria. Gloria, how are you? Hello? Hello? Okay. I'm waiting for yeah. Sunday, you're welcome again.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Gloria, welcome. Looks like Gloria can't hear me.
Madam Gloria.
Yeah, guys. Gloria has her microphone off. Hello, Gloria. She's having issues with audio. Okay, Sunday.
Sir.
Looks like this year other people are having issues with
connecting.
Yeah,
I think so.
So Gloria can't even hear me.
Okay. And Lawrence, has Lawrence joined?
Yeah, Lawrence is just trying to join.
Okay. Okay. Maybe let's give them a little time to.
Yeah, let's
come in. Yes.
Yes, guys, you're welcome back. Yes, Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Joseph Oshim, you want to say something? I saw you raise your hand. I wonder what's happening with Gloria.
She's really struggling with it.
Yeah, I think she needs someone to help her.
Yes. Yes. I really don't think that's supposed to be that difficult.
Yeah. You can't tell. It seems to me that not everyone was prepared for this approach.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Lawrence just forced things on everybody. Don't you think so, Sunday?
Actually, some members of the class were complaining seriously. Yes. But somehow, for some of us, it's not bad, but
I think before we start the main topic of the day, we'll just have to reach an agreement on how to approach this thing.
People were actually complaining.
Yeah. So it's not wise forcing everybody to like.
So I'm here with Castro.
You're there with Castro.
Yes,
Castro,
sir.
how are you?
I'm fine, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Even Sunday left.
Yeah, maybe he's just sitting there and he's bored.
Yeah.
So, Lawrence,
Sir?
it looks like you just forced things on your mates. They were not really prepared for this kind of thing.
Sir, they even prefer it. Even Tohile yesterday was calling me that as you make sure this one too is online.
But
It's
you
just
can
that-
see how they are struggling with it. And Sunday says some of them were complaining.
But who are they? Why some of them, they will go back and tell me that it's the best way.
Only one person told you it's the best way.
No,
Gloria
sir,
was the first person to join and she has been struggling since.
Gloria
She can't hear
too,
me.
like this. This guy in Boko, Derek too, he prefer it. And Tohile wants it. The only person I knew that was complaining is the man that has no Android phone.
Yes, is it Isa or Musa?
Isa.
Isa, yes.
Yes. Probably what is happening is just network.
Yeah, network is not just now because without network, somebody will not be able to.
And like today, network is really bad. I even thank God for my own because I know I
Gloria,
upgraded
amen. You've been here since and we can't hear you. You've been struggling all this while. Your audio doesn't seem to be. I can't hear you, Gloria. Her microphone is not working.
network.
Yeah, Gloria, I can hear you small now. It's not working. Good afternoon. How are you doing? It's like your network is not strong enough. Yeah. Hello. You can hear me clearly. Okay, if you can hear me, that's all. Yeah. I think we can make progress. Yeah. Okay, that's good. We have almost how many people now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kumaga, you're welcome.
So we are 6 out of 10.
So we can start now?
Yes, sir. We are from a quorum.
Okay. So we are from a quorum. That's why it's not that kind of your meeting that people go to share money. Okay. Okay, so you're welcome, guys. I'm happy to have you again around today so that we'll discuss some issues in research. I was getting worried that this approach may not be very good for you, but it looks like we just have to see how we can make the best of it. If eventually you find that it's becoming difficult, we can change to face-to-face. Though I know that for those who are far, like today, Gaius is in Kaduna with his family, but he's joining us. He joined us in the morning and he's here again. He's driving his car. I think he's going to Mr. Biggs.
I'm sitting in the compound.
Yeah, so it's okay. Kumaga is able to join us in spite of his lessons that he has in his school. They're all the same. I think we're making some good progress. Yeah. So last week we were looking at, we reviewed some of the work we did before the others joined us. And then we went on to also talk about variables, discuss the different types of variables, different classes of variables. So can you remind me some of the variables we talked about last week? Sunday. Hello, Sunday. Sunday, can you remind us of the variables we discussed last week? At least one.
Okay, can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I said we talked about dependent and independent variables.
Dependent and independent variable, yes?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, and we say that when there are two parameters and something happens, you know, one depends on another. The one that depends on the other is a dependent variable, and the one that causes the effect is an independent variable. Yes, that was what we said.
The one that is being affected,
yes,
is the dependent variable. And the one that caused the effect is the independent variable.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Class, do you agree? Is that what we said?
Sir?
Is that what we said? What Sunday just said? Is that what we said? That when...
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Last week I started, but there was also my battery ran down. I was unable to complete, but I know the dependent variable depends on the independent. In a situation where there's a phenomenon and you want to, just like you usually tell us, for you to establish a research topic, there must be, the variables must be cited, and one must depend on the another. So, and then also, there are two measures, categorical and continuous measures of variables, which we also talked about that day.
Someone has joined us that is not supposed to be in the house. Did you notice that?
Okay.
Yeah, Gloria is appearing twice.
Okay. Yes, so I saw her face.
Did you notice that?
Yes, sir.
Gloria, how are you appearing twice?
Yes, sir.
Present twice.
I believe she joined on her laptop and phone.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's hope it's not a Zoom bomber that I just cloned. Cloned her face. Cloned Gloria. Okay. Okay. Huh? Okay, so yeah, I agree. We have dependent and independent variables. The independent variable influences the dependent variable. I agree. Can you give an example of a situation where we will have a dependent and an independent variable? Maybe, yeah, like you can you give a practical example? Because last week I gave you a practical example.
So many examples, yes.
Yes,
Give me now.
Like if we have a topic, can I come in, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, you can come in.
Yes.
Okay, if we have a topic like the effect of functional libraries on students' performance in technical schools, then the functional libraries are the independent variable, while students' performance are the dependent variable.
Very good. Now, what's the difference between a concept and a variable?
A concept.
According to your last lecture, a variable is an attribute, while a construct is an attribute. Huh?
I say the difference between a concept and a variable.
Concept.
Yes, concept.
Okay. For me, I would say a concept is just a phenomenon. While a variable is the characteristics that makes up the concept.
Double Gloria. Double Gloria. On phone and on laptop. Okay.
Gloria, I don't want to miss today a bit.
Okay, so is there anyone who can come in? Difference between concept and variable? You guys just forget this thing. When you go home, you just forget everything. Why?
Sir, personally, I was not up to date in that lecture because of this I had last week.
But at least you were with us up to that point where we talked about different kinds of different families of variables.
No, and construct. That was where I stopped.
Let me look for those slides where we talked about.
So I think, let me just make an attempt, sir.
Yeah.
Concepts are generally, or they are general abstract ideas. Why variables are either dependent or independent that statistical units and
Components.
and a property, something like that.
Look, can we say that?
Am I on the track?
You're on the track.
So that means a concept has no variable.
They are abstract ideas.
They are just
What
ideas.
develop a concept.
Okay.
They are abstract ideas that they express your this in either social or economic phenomenon.
They cannot cause or affect another. They cannot affect or cause another change anywhere. Abi?
Are you both talking like postgraduate students at all? Hmm?
Huh?
I don't understand the way you people are talking. The thing is sounding somehow to me.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Lawrence was trying to make an attempt.
Mm-hmm. And the attempt was like what?
That concepts are just abstract ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, variables are the component
Variables are the component.
or units that
No,
makes up nominal.
they are statistical units.
So,
Lawrence started very well.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So, okay, there are measurements for which data are collected or derived. That is for variables. Why concepts? They are abstract ideas.
What? I'm trying to like. I'm trying to get that slide where I said something about concepts and variables. 1, 2. Just give me a second.
Okay, sir.
All right. OC. to join.
Do you remember seeing this slide last week? Hello?
Yeah,
Do you remember seeing this?
students.
Yes, sir. Construct, yes.
I explained that a variable is an attribute or characteristic that can take on many different values. It's usually specified or stated in a specific or applied way. Actually, Lawrence got that correct. No, I think he was talking about construct first. Construct too is attribute or characteristic, but it's usually abstract and general. It's not very specific. For example, when we talk of student performance or student achievement or quality of library, are we together?
Yes, sir.
I was just explaining the difference between variable and construct. Say the construct is a general idea, just like Lawrence said. It's an attribute, yes, it's a characteristic of something, but it's usually expressed in a global way, in an abstract manner. And I was just giving you examples. Sunday, was it Sunday or Gaius who was giving us example of independent and dependent variable? Say some, okay, was it Lawrence? Say something about quality of library.
Students' performance.
And students' performance.
Just Lawrence.
So student performance is a concept. Quality of library is also a concept. Why are they concepts? How can you measure quality of library? How can you measure quality of student performance? What are the indicators? Can someone give us examples of indicators of quality of library?
Yeah,
Okay.
so number of textbooks.
Number of books in the library.
Yes.
Current books.
Huh?
As a number of books that are relevant.
Yes, correct. Number of books. What else?
Proper sitting arrangement.
Proper sitting arrangement.
Or maybe size size of the library.
Size of the library in terms of the building, the structure of the building.
How
Yes.
current the books are.
Size of the library.
Yes,
does not-
currency of the books. So now let's look at it like this. Can we measure the number of books in the library?
No.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
count
Can we measure it?
Yes.
Yes.
We can count the number of books.
Yes.
Can we measure the currency? How current the books are?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can. By looking at the dates of publication. So if we have more books which are published in the 70s than books which are published in the 2000s, are we going to say that the library is current?
No.
No.
Hmm?
it must be like 5 years up.
It's like I can't hear you, sir. Madam Gloria, it's only you I'm seeing. And I can't hear Prof.
Why? Why can't you hear Prof?
Okay. You were
Okay.
quiet, so again.
I asked you a question now, and I was waiting for an answer.
I didn't get the question.
We were looking at difference between variable and concept.
Yes, sir.
Then I showed you a slide which explained the difference between a variable and a concept. Then also,
Yes.
then I asked for an example,
Yes, which we use the library.
which you use the example of a library.
Yes.
You said the quality of library affecting student performance.
Yes, sir.
And I said something like quality of library is a
Can be
concept.
measured. Mm.
Cannot be measured directly. And I said, how do you gauge the quality of a library? You say the number of books, currency of the books,
Yes.
sitting arrangement.
Yes.
Is it not so?
Yes, sir.
And I ask you, can we measure the number of books? You said yes.
Yes.
Can be counted. Can count the number of books.
Yes.
I also asked you how whether we can measure the currency
Yes.
of the books. You
Yes.
said yes. And I was giving you an example. I said, for instance, you go to a library and 70% of the books in that library were published between 1960, 1970, and 1980. And very few of them were published between 2010 and 2020. Will you say the books in that library are current, or the library is current?
They're not current.
Not current.
Not current. That's the answer I was expecting, but I kept quiet waiting for you to give me the answer. So now you have the question and you have the answer.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in stating your hypothesis or your purposes, is even if you state them in form of concepts, which are usually general and abstract, you will need to operationalize it, break it down into the variables that are involved. That is the point I was trying to remind you. These are issues we discussed last week.
So let me ask a question.
Yes.
Yes, you know, why when you ask that question, somehow we're not getting into it because you talked about the difference between a variable and a concept. Yes, concept, is it the same as the construct that you talked about last week? Because what we have here actually is a variable and a construct.
Construct, yes, construct.
Yeah, look, yes, so that construct, is that construct and variable and concept?
Sorry for thus forgive me for using the wrong terminology for what I was asking. I actually meant construct.
Okay.
I actually meant
okay.
construct, yes, not concept. Even on the screen today, what I showed was construct, not concept.
Yes.
Construct.
Oh, that's okay.
So thank you for reminding me, drawing my attention to it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So we have looked at approaches to research or plans for researching, strategies for conducting research, which we call research design. We have also looked at trying to enlighten ourselves about how to express factors that we're dealing with in terms of variables, which fall into different families of dependent, independent, categorical, continuous, intervening, moderating. Do you remember those ones?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You have forgotten?
We remember, sir.
Okay, good.
Okay, no, we remember, sir. Very well.
Good. So if you remember very well, then I want us to discuss something else today.
Okay.
When you first joined, for some of you, you saw what I wanted us to discuss today, data collection. So today I want us to spend some time discussing the issue of data collection. Remember, I told you I'm not going to deal with the statistical side of things concerning data. I'm going to deal with the how to collect and manage data. The statistical processing of data, which is data analysis, will be handled by Dr. Afao and his group in technometrics. So here, essentially what I want us to talk about is the collection and management of data. Now, first, what is data collection? Data collection is that systematic process by which observations or measurements are gathered or collected in research. In different contexts, academics or researchers within academia, government, business, and other organizations collect data to various levels. Excuse me. Now, we don't just jump into collecting data. Remember when I was discussing research design with you, one of the fundamental things I pointed out was that research design depends, or the type of design you use or you choose depends on the purpose of your study, the problem that you want to study, the purpose, and of course, the literature review that has indicated how important that problem is, the approaches that have been used by different researchers in researching that particular field. In the same way, before you set out to start collecting your data, first thing that you need to consider is the purpose of your study. What are you conducting the study for? I will elaborate on that. The next thing you need to also decide is the type of data that you will collect. And then the methods and procedures you will use to collect the data, store it, and process it. Now, it's very common for students, especially, or novice researchers, to go into a study. They would have beautifully laid out their background to the study, beautifully laid out their purposes of the study, beautifully laid out their research design, so to speak. But when they now set out to collect data, actually collect the wrong data. Or they may collect the right data, the correct data, but they may collect it wrongly, in the sense that either the data may be incomplete or may contain noise. What do I mean by noise in data? Some of the things that will be collected that were actually not needed for that particular study, and for which the researcher may not really have any use for it. So, in designing your approach to data collection, the first thing is for you to decide exactly what you want to achieve. To decide exactly what you want to achieve. What do you want to do with the data? How much data do you want to collect? Whom and where do you want to collect the data from? What instruments do you want to use collect it. What do you want? What are you hoping to achieve by collecting that data? Now, the point that you will bear in mind is that you set out to do that research in order to solve a problem, isn't it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. The research was about solving a particular problem or finding out about a particular issue. So the logical thing or the logical place to start is from your problem statement. What is the issue that you want to address and why does it matter? So your problem statement, if it is clearly and very well defined, should focus you on where you want to go with your study, which will start laying the groundwork for the type of data that you will need to collect, where you will collect it, and how you will collect it, even to the extent how it will be analyzed. A clear definition of the problem also defines the questions that the researcher wishes to ask and answer. That is why logically from problem statement we progress to research questions and purposes, because it is the questions specifically that you are collecting the data to answer. So it's good practice, it's normal that your data collection procedure, by defining your data, you should look at the question that you set out to answer. Now, in the previous lectures, I had told you about qualitative and quantitative research. Research that collects and presents information numerically, terms of numbers, and research that collects and presents information by using words to describe, analyze situations, concepts, things, places, occurrences. So if your aim is to collect data which you are going to test hypothesis, when we talk of hypothesis, I think Dr. Hima by now must have told you what a hypothesis is.
We have not started with him, sir.
Okay, whenever you start with him, hopefully he will tell you what a hypothesis is. Where you have been stated, even this afternoon, you stated one hypothesis like that. You say the quality of library affects
Performance of students.
yes, performance of students. A tentative statement, isn't it? That is to be proven or disproven by the data which will be collected to analyze and test it.
Yes, sir.
So if your aim is to test a tentative statement that signifies relationship or differences among variables or tries to prove cause and effect relationship, then logically you will be going for quantitative data. Or if you set out to measure something precisely, find out the length, the height, the depth, the width, the magnitude of something, definitely you will be going for quantitative data. But if you just set out to explore ideas, like you have an idea, a concept or a construct that you want to explore its meaning or explore how, describe it, explain it in words, within the context in which it is occurring, so that you gain insight into that phenomenon, then you should be expecting to go for qualitative data. Sometimes our research may focus on more than one purposes. Some purposes may be quantitative, some purposes may be qualitative. In that case, we will be looking to collect both quantitative data and qualitative data. We'll be calling that type of research, what type of design, what? Mixed method. Remember, I told you we could do a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method. Mixed method in the sense that we'll be having approaches of the quantitative, approaches of the qualitative in the same research. For instance, in the case of that, how library affects student performance, there may be some aspects of library that will not lend themselves to quantification. Cleanliness, for instance. How do you quantify cleanliness of a library? But you can measure the soundproofness of a library, isn't it?
Yes.
You can also count the number of books in a library.
Yes.
You can also measure the currency or recency of the books. How about leadership? Yes, to some extent, you can also measure leadership indirectly by looking at the attributes which the leader of the library exhibits. But can you measure friendliness of library staff?
That will be very difficult, sir.
So you will just be describing how friendly the library staff are, which will be qualitative description and not quantitative. So you could do a study where you are both looking at both the quantitative side of things and the qualitative side of things. And so you'll be mixing. So before you decide on how you're going to collect your data and what type of data you collect, you first of all need to define what you want to achieve with that study. Are we clear on that one?
Yes. Very clear, sir.
The next thing that you will need to decide on before going into the field to collect data is your data collection method. Data collection method. How are you going to collect the data? How are you going to collect the data? Is your research an experimental research? If it is an experimental research, then definitely you'll be collecting measures, quantitative measures. You'll be collecting quantitative data. So your method of data collection will be a quantitative method, where you'll be looking for instruments that will collect data in form of numbers or data which can be converted into numbers. But if you just set out to interview people or have discussion with people or study people in their natural setting, how they behave in their natural setting, and describe that behavior, definitely we cannot quantify this, right?
Yes.
So it will be a qualitative approach. You want to interview Otom on his achievement in vocational and technical education, achievement concerning vocational and technical education. Otom will tell you one long story, isn't it also? He will tell you things, some that are connected to what you're asking him, some that are not connected. So you will need to come and sit down and start distilling, removing the ones that are connected, the ones that are not connected, and then describing and interpreting what he says. Or if you call a group of students together, let's discuss this issue. And you present the issue, everybody is bringing their ideas and thinking on it. You know, certainly you cannot reduce, it's difficult to reduce that into numbers. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, if you are surveying the views of people or making observations or digging into records, like school registers, school exam reports, files and documents, or giving people questionnaires to gauge their opinion and belief about a particular issue, or observing a phenomena and, you know, like when you do checklists and all that. It's possible to use both qualitative and quantitative methods, like what people will say, or John. Because you may start with an interview and then, having heard what the people say, use that to design a questionnaire, which will now be given to a larger group of people, right? So the interview will be analyzed qualitatively, and the survey or questionnaire can be analyzed quantitatively. Or you may observe a situation to identify its indicators. And after describing the indicators, analyzing them, use that to generate a measuring instrument that can capture in figures, in numbers, the phenomenon. So, depending on what you want to achieve with your data, the problem that you're studying, the questions you set out to ask and answer, you will choose the method of data collection that is appropriate for collecting that particular data. Excuse me, just give me 2 minutes or 1 minute, so to speak. I'll back with you.
Okay. Madam Gloria. I don't know. Yes. So,
Professor
yes.
EG.
Yes, so yeah, girls.
How far?
I know. Girls, so you're in Kaduna, right? Hello, girls.
Oh, please don't catch me. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hope bandits are not somewhere close to where you are.
Not our Lawrence face. What happened?
You
God, to show your face. Want to see your face?
Monday.
Okay, Lawrence. Show your face.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, girls.
Me on Monday.
Huh? Okay, you went to Kaduna Monday, right?
Yes. I went to Zaria to pick my daughter with my wife.
One
It's not up.
Girls, your sound is not coming up clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can also hear you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
If I attack it,
After you have been listening,
So, ladies and gentlemen, what is the first
Yes, sir.
step? What's the first step in designing your data collection, collecting data? What are you supposed to do first?
You need to identify what you want to use the data for, what you want to achieve.
Aim of
But
research.
yes, with the yes, the aim of the research.
Yes. What you want to do with the data, the aim of your research. What's the second thing you are supposed to do?
where you're going to.
The method. Choosing the method.
Choosing. Okay. Choosing the method of data collection. Now I have here on the screen a number of data collection approaches. Can you see them?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So tiny.
So tiny.
Method.
Yes, sir.
You can enlarge it. You can zoom it with your fingers.
Okay.
You are teaching me how to use computer.
No, sir. He's teaching me, sir.
Okay, he's teaching somebody.
Gloria is complaining that it's tiny, sir.
Okay, Gloria, you can enlarge it. Yeah.
yes, I can see it.
Have you enlarged it now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if someone cannot, Lawrence is saying you must zoom with your finger. It mustn't be your finger. There's, or even if you don't have a touch screen, you can still do it with your mouse. Okay, so as you can see, this is a suggestion by Bandari on approaches to data collection, when to use each of the approach, and how the data will be collected. If your research design or your method of research is an experiment, and you are seeking to test a cause and effect relationship between variables, then it means that you are going to manipulate some variables and keep others constant, right?
Yes, sir.
So your approach to collecting data will be manipulating the independent variable and then measuring their effect on the dependent variable. For instance, if you want to do an experiment on how quality of library improves student performance, academic performance, and you determine that one of the variables in quality of library is the number of books, then you may do an experiment. Increase the number of books that are available to the students, and then give them a test after a certain period of time. Then reduce the number of books. After a certain period, give them an exam. Then compare the two results to see whether at the time the books were many, the student did better on the test than when the books were not many. If the result does not change, if the books were many and the students performed in a particular way in the exam, and when the books were reduced, the students still performed in that particular manner in the exam, what will be your conclusion? Did you get my question?
Yes.
Did you get what I said before asking that question?
No, sir. Come again with the question, sir.
Let me come again with the explanation.
Okay, sir.
Bandari suggests that if your research is an experiment where you want to test the cause and effect relationship among variables, then you will be collecting data by manipulating the variables, independent variables, and then taking measurements of the effects that the independent variable has produced on the dependent variable. Did you hear that one?
Yes.
Good. Now I gave you an example of the construct of quality or library and the construct of student performance. We had agreed that within the construct, there are variables that will define that construct, isn't it?
Yes.
One of the construct is number of books. And a variable within academic performance or student performance may be performance on a test or an examination. So if you want to find out whether quality of library affects academic performance, and then you want to test the causal relationship among the variables involved in quality of library and the variable involved in academic performance. Let's take this example, that one of the variables in quality of library that we had agreed on is number of books.
Yes.
Is that not what we agreed on? Then we also said, where I said, perhaps an indicator of academic performance may be something like performance on a written test.
Yes.
So if you want to do an experiment to see whether number of books has effect or influences performance on a written exam, how are you going to collect the data? I said, as an example, that you may decide to increase the number of books in the library on that particular topic. Then after some time, give the students a written exam on that particular topic.
Yes.
And see how they perform in that exam. How many passed very well? Then you will come another day, reduce the number of books on that topic.
Same topic.
Yes, same topic. Same topic. Remember the issue of control and randomization. We will ensure that the characteristics of, maybe we will decide that it will be the same students.
Yes.
Or we may decide that it is another group of students that has the same characteristics with the group that took the first test. So we will reduce the number of books on that topic.
Yes.
After some time, we give the students the same exam, the same question. We may change the type of the students, but they should have the same level of intelligence, the same age, the same everything. They should be taking the same course as the ones before. So we reduce the number of books. After some time, we now give the same test to this experimental students. And we take their result and compare that result with the first result. Right?
Yes.
Or we may have two groups of students with the same characteristics.
Yes.
We will have two libraries, two groups of students with the same characteristics, two libraries. Because remember that the library is the independent variable. So since the academic performance student is the dependent variable, we're going to have the same class of students, two classes, with the student distributed equally among the two classes. They have the same characteristics, right? But we separate them. Then we keep books in the two libraries. One group of students will be allowed to enter the library where there are many books on that topic. Then the second group of students will be only allowed to enter the library where there are very few books on that topic.
Yes.
We'll give them the same amount of time. Then, after the lapse of that time, after we have made sure that they have all entered those two libraries, each group has entered their own library for that prescribed length of time,
Yes.
we will not give them a test, the same test, the same questions, structures in the same way, but we give them separately. We'll give the group that entered the library that had more books, we give the same test to the group that entered the library that had fewer books. Then after they have taken the test, we score the test and we compare the results. Now, the question I asked you was this.
Yes. Yes.
If after doing this experiment, we find out that the results of the two groups do not differ, that is, the results are the same. The result of the student, the performance of the student on the test is the same. What will be our conclusion? What should be our conclusion?
Okay, sir. Let me attempt, sir.
Yes, Sunday attempt.
Yes, I think if the results are the same, then to me the meaning is that the quality of the library does not affect the learning outcomes. That is the performance of the student. So which means the quality of the library does not determine the learning outcomes of the students.
Is it quality of the library?
Yes.
Number of the book.
Number of books. Number of books does not affect performance on that particular test.
Yes.
We have to be careful, Sunday. We were not measuring, we were using number of books. Even though we were studying quality of library, the variable that we were studying was number of books and its effect on a particular test.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay? So the conclusion will be that number of books does not have effect on performance on that particular test. Then we can do a similar experiment on the quality of lighting within the library. We can do a similar experiment on the number of seats. When we have put together all these experiments, then we can now analyze them and see how we can make a conclusion about the connection between quality of library and academic performance. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, sir.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
in this, in a situation where you give the same number of higher
I can't hear you well.
in a situation where you give the same student number of books. Now, after you give them a test, after you now give the same students, you reduce the number of books, give it to the same students, and then the same test. Does it mean that the books they read in the first time will not affect?
Okay, yeah, that is why I gave you. That's why I gave you two options. That's why I gave two options. One was giving the students the books, reducing the books, giving the same test to the same students. What is the likely problem with this kind of approach?
Sir?
What's the likely problem with this kind of approach? Giving the same students the same test and giving the same students the same number of books at the beginning and the same number of books at the second time. There is what we call learning effect. Learning effect. It's possible that the students must have learned that thing. So taking the same test the second time, their even performance may even improve. So you will discover that maybe when the books are reduced, the performance will still be high. Is it not so?
Oh, yes.
So to control for that, we now split the students into two groups, one control group, one experimental group. Now remember, if you go back to the research design, experimental design that we talked about, types of control, we talked about single group control, okay?
Yes.
And completely randomized control. So, Kumaga, your question is very valid.
Yes, sir.
I have to be taken into consideration too, possibility that the students must have learned any other question from there?
So I
Okay.
don't know, can I share one experience?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know somehow it's closely related to what we are discussing because it's about students, how students learn, the things that affect the way students learn. Like, I have the opportunity to work in a school closely, and so there is something that I observe. This does not have to do with the quality of books, the number of books in the library, but there is something I observe. You know, like when we admit students into, let's say, a new class like JS1, you discover that the first set of students, that is the students that comes early, right? Because we arrange the students in their classes. Sometimes we have JS1A and JS1B. And the grouping into A and B is done purely on the way they come, the way how early they come for admission and how early they pay school fees. Also, we discovered that over time, over the years, those that we keep in JS1A, they are always performing better because they are taught by the same teachers. You know, they have access to the same facilities, library, and everything. But you discover that those that are in the A class, generally speaking, they are always doing better, far better than those in the B class. And it has been a trend over the years. But in that case, I don't know, let me ask you and maybe the whole class, what can we say is responsible for that? Because it's a trend that we have observed over the years. I don't know whether it's related, but whether it's related or not, but I think it's something there's something that affects learning of the students here.
Yeah, so does anybody have any suggestion of the possible reason for that?
So, what I noticed is this. Probably people who come to school early are more serious. They are serious-minded people. It has to do with attitude.
Yeah.
So, from the angle of parents and the students, They are more serious-minded. They know what they are after. Probably maybe people who are coming late. Maybe people who struggle to go to school. They just say, to wherever I get, I will go. Or they reluctantly go at the tail end of it that we have to do this. But the ones that are quick on it are more serious and more determined. So you may likely have them be more brilliant. Occurring everywhere like that.
Yeah,
A
Francis.
is always a top class.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think your explanation is very reasonable. Francis wants to make a contribution. Yeah, Francis.
Contribution there. May not mean that they are not serious. But anytime, taking an example from us, any class you begin, you have more understanding than the one you want to join along the line. So I can subject that because the students were not starting from the beginning, they may not get full understanding of the concept of the whole study. And that will make them not to perform very well.
Yeah. Yeah, that is reasonable. Yeah, like Gloria said, well, taking off from what Lawrence said, it may not be that the people who came late are more serious, but that is also a factor. You know, the decision to come earlier is tied to attitude as well. Though it may be financial anyway. Some people will not come early because they have a problem with their finances, or this idea of late admission. Maybe they went to another school and then later changed their mind to come there, or they didn't sit for the common entrance or failed or whatever, something. So it could also be that the serious people are the ones that come first, but also there are other factors that we need to consider. And then, like Gloria said, it's also possible that the people who came early have been taught for a while before the others got them. So they have a head start. So if the teachers could not go back and reteach the kind of things they taught before the others came, you know, these latecomers will definitely have a problem, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
What we're saying is, this doesn't just happen when that term of admission. It happens all through. Continuously, always A.
Yes.
Okay, it happens throughout the
school.
Okay,
throughout. A is always A.
Yeah, so explanation, more explanations, yes.
One thing is, the few serious-minded ones that are in the class, they influence others that are there. They keep them on their toes. So they learn, they are on their toes and they learn harder. So the performance is always very high in A throughout the school year.
Okay, Francis, you wanted to make a contribution?
Yes, I need a contribution, sir.
Yes.
What I observe is that there are prescribed examinations for admission in schools. And sometimes most of the students that are placed in the class, a particular pattern of remarks is followed based on their performance during the e-tech examination. So they normally select the ones that have attended the questions well. Whether they look at that procedure or they are placed in school, that is the custom. The ones are followed by their level of performance.
Okay. Yeah, I think that could also be a very important factor. When you look at the result of the common entrance and the interview, and then you decide to those who did well in the common entrance and the interview, and then put them in one class. It's like you're selecting the best and putting in one place. And then the rest putting them in the other classes. Yes, Vava. Vava, you want to make a contribution?
Yes, sir. Yes, I want to agree with Lawrence on having people the best in the A class. The fact that maybe there are 2 or 3, you know how they say that good character, bad character corrupts. The fact that you have more supposed to be lazy students or those that resume late, reason they are bright students, B class, they corrupt. And the fact that you have 1 or 2 smart people that show enthusiasm in the A class, they wanted to keep up in the A class, while the B class is the rest.
Yeah, so Sunday.
Sir.
Are you getting a sense of something like approaching what may be some possible explanation to your question?
Yes, yes. So
but let me, go ahead, Sunday.
Okay, yeah, one other thing that I think on my own that may be a factor is, maybe let me put it as a question. Background, okay, like a child that is coming to JS1, is a primary school background not supposed to be a factor that will affect, that will influence his performance in the secondary school? So possibly I think that those who are coming late, like we say, the economic factors and the behavioral factors are also there, such that the parents had those bad behavior. So they were not given the best of background, even from their primary school. So background is another issue I'm looking at.
Okay, yeah, that's one dimension. That's one dimension. That's another way of looking at it as well. That's another way of looking at it as well. Maybe their background. But probably I will be thinking that not all students in one class will come from the same background anyway. Maybe they will have mixed backgrounds. Okay, so I think it's a very interesting thing to research. Yeah, it's a very interesting research area. So maybe one day one of you may see if you can give it a shot and give us the answer.
Okay.
Okay, beautiful. So back to our main discussion. I had just started highlighting how the method, the approach for collecting data when you're doing experimental study. And if it is a survey, what you're trying to do is just to understand the general characteristics or opinion of a group of people. You see, let's get this clear. I have seen many student researchers and even many academic researchers. Someone who is like many researches where people just do questionnaire. Sometimes I don't even see why they are doing but you see they will just make one questionnaire. Do one.
Formality.
let me sign for a document quickly. I'll be with you. Okay, so I don't know. You know, it's not every study that if you're doing a survey, if you're doing a questionnaire, you are like gathering opinion of people. You understand now? On a particular issue. So if your aim is to gather the perception, opinion, or beliefs of people on a particular issue, then you have options either to do an interview, either to like do a paper questionnaire or an online questionnaire and send it to those people for them to answer, right? And then you collect the questionnaire back, collect the result and answer. Or you can go and administer the questionnaire one-on-one. They complete it, you retrieve it. Or you can even ask them question on phone. As they ask, you're asking, they're answering, you're ticking. Okay? So that is these are options for collecting data in a survey. Either you do a paper questionnaire, stronger agree, disagree, yes, no, whatever you call it. Then you either send the questionnaire to the people to answer and return to you, or you go out, hand the questionnaire, the answer you collect it back, or you put the questionnaire online and they answer it, you collect the information, or you can use a telephone to call them, ask them questions, and tick the responses. If it's an interview you are doing to gain an in-depth knowledge, maybe they answered questions in a particular way, so you wanted to now dig deeper. Let them explain their choices, what they mean by their choices. Or it's an issue that you don't need to do questionnaire, but you need to like a few people to discuss with and get insights which you will describe that phenomena properly. Then you are most likely to prepare a set of questions that you're going to ask the respondents, and then verbally ask them those questions either as individuals or in a group, okay? And then record their responses. If it is an observation you are doing, then you can either do a checklist, okay? Or take measurements, take an instrument like a ruler or a tape, okay? Or a thermometer, and take measurements and record the results. So you have up to secondary data collection and that it has given suggestions. So this is just to give you insight into approaches that can be used for collecting data. But the bottom line is that It is the purpose of your study, the problem you are trying to find out about, the question that you are seeking to answer. You decide your research design and the type of approach that you are going to use to research that issue and why we decide the approach for collecting data. Any question on that?
I think it's okay.
Okay. Very clear. So when you have now decided on the approach for collecting data, the next thing for you to do is to plan your data collection procedure. Plan how the data we collected. You have decided on a method. You are going to do experiment or survey, right? How will you actually go out there? What procedures will you follow to make accurate measurements or make accurate observations of the variables that you are interested in? For instance, if you are doing a survey using questionnaire, what questions are you going to be asking and what form will the questions take? For example, you may be asking liked type of questions. You will be asking liked type of questions. Maybe asking liked type of questions. Examples of liked questions will be something like when there are many books on a particular topic in the library, students tend to read more on that topic. Agree, disagree. Or strongly disagree, disagree, undecided, agree, strongly agree. Huh? Do you remember those type of questions?
Yes.
Yes. Or you may decide to ask categorical type of questions. Can you give me an example of categorical questions?
Do you visit library every day?
Yes or no?
Do you visit the library every day? Is it a categorical question?
The ones that have answers for yes or no.
Yes or no. I think I was telling you about categorical variables are those variables that group things, male, female. Do you remember? Gender or sex. It's a categorical variable. So categorical type of question will be asking, are you male or female? What is your highest level of education? Primary school, secondary school, university. Yeah, but generally, I'm just giving you an example. Like if you are doing something like survey using a questionnaire, then you will need to decide the kind of questions you are going to ask the respondents. Okay? If you are doing an experiment, then you will have to decide on what are your variables. How are you going to manipulate one or more of the independent variables? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be a control group and experimental group? What's the method of control? How is randomization going to be achieved? Okay?
Yes.
Yes. So this have to be clearly and adequately described. I think in your dissertation write-up, there is a provision for procedure for data collection or method of data collection.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You don't have the format.
So we don't have.
Abba, what are you guys doing now after staying on this program for like how long? Now, let me draw your attention to something. If you are not careful in defining exactly what your variables are and how you are going to measure them, it will be very difficult for you to decide how you will collect data on those variables. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That is why we have what we call operationalization of terms. We have been talking about this throughout our discussion this afternoon. And let me use the same example. Lawrence talked about quality of library affecting academic performance. We have to operationalize quality of library. What do we mean by quality of library? In this study, quality of library means the number of books in stock in the library, the currency or recency of the books that are in stock in the library, and so on and so forth and so forth. Okay? Because we cannot directly measure the quality of library. We can directly measure the operationalized variables, the concrete variables, the specific variables, because the concept quality of library is rather abstract. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So it is only when we operationalize quality of library by clearly specifying what we mean when we are talking about quality of library that the indices, the indicators will be measurable. And it is these measurable indicators that we are going to now develop instruments and procedures for measuring them. Are we following each other?
Yes.
So if we operationalize quality of library as number of books, then it means we are going to have a checklist, create a checklist that we tick or record the number of books in the library. Is that not so?
Yes.
If we are going to also include as indicator of quality of library the variable currency or recency of books, then it means in our instrument there should be provision for recording the year of publication of the book. Is it not so? So it means that when you are planning how you will collect your data, you will need to translate your conceptual definition of what you want to study into operational definitions. And let me dwell on this a little bit. When you are writing your dissertation or your thesis, even some of the projects you wrote in your undergraduate studies, many of you, when you came to the section called operational definition of terms, you took the dictionary definition of those terms and started writing them down. The dictionary definition may not be operationalized. Are we together? Hello?
Yes, we're with you, sir.
Am I confusing you?
No,
No,
sir.
sir. Not
Yes,
at
sir.
all. Huh?
Sir, it's
Somebody
a-
said yes. Somebody says I'm confusing you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
And sir, I think every concept that is relating to a work should have a basic definition. So how do you move away from the primary definition of a concept? Because we are talking about operationalization, that is which is a bit confusing, sir.
Now, Francis,
Yes, sir.
I want you to understand something about research.
Yes, sir.
A research work or a research report is not a textbook.
Okay, sir.
A research report is not a dictionary.
Yes, sir.
Good. So in your research, what should concern you will not be the meaning of words. What should concern you with how is this particular construct going to be measured? What are the indicators? If we see this construct, how are we going to recognize it? How are we going to measure it? What data are we going to take that will define this variable? That is what we call operational definition.
Okay, sir.
The same construct in two different works, in two different contexts, may be operationalized differently and measured differently. And if they are measured differently, are we expecting the same result?
No, sir.
Good. So what I want you to have at the back of your mind is that when you are crafting your operational definition of terms, it is not about the basic definition of the meaning of that word. It is what does it mean in specific measurable terms.
Thank you, sir.
What does it mean in specific measurable terms? Because it is based on that specific measurable definition that you are going to now select the type of instrument that you're going to use to measure it. Let me give you an example. Room, let me say room comfort.
Yes, sir.
Or classroom comfort. Can Can someone define classroom comfort for me?
So I think it refers to a learning environment that supports conducive learning.
A learning environment that supports conducive learning. Beautiful. I like that. Now, how do you measure it? How do you determine whether a learning environment supports a conducive learning environment? David. David. Is it David? Who gave that definition?
It's Francis, sir.
Okay, Francis.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you measure? How do you measure a learning environment that supports conducive learning? If I see one, how will I recognize it?
So I think to me it's a bit confusing, but for a learning environment to be comfortable, certain parameters have to be in place.
Beautiful. Like what and what?
The ventilation.
Ventilation, yes.
And whether artificial or natural.
Whether what?
Whether artificial or natural.
Natural, yes. Whether artificial or natural ventilation.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The acoustic material for insulation and ceiling.
Good. Sound insulation, yes. Acoustics.
And heat insulation. If these things are not there, then I don't know how we measure the temperature, whether it's acceptable in line with stated standard or what. I'm a bit confused.
You check the humidity. You check the humidity too.
Humidity, yes. Good. I think you have done very well. You have done very well by operationalizing the concept comfortable classroom.
Yes.
By the operational definition of comfortable classroom, you are saying we should look at humidity,
okay,
heat, acoustics, ventilation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
and then you give baselines. What is the minimum allowable heat in a classroom?
Population.
Okay, class population. Somebody has just added one. So what is the minimum allowable heat in a classroom? What is the amount of lighting? You didn't mention lighting, but I had lighting. Yeah. What is the minimum acceptable lighting in a classroom? What is the minimum acceptable ventilation? How do we even measure ventilation? Are we measuring ventilation by the number of windows and doors? Or we are measuring ventilation by the number of fans and air conditioners? Are we measuring ventilation by the speed of air passing through the class? This is what we refer to as operational definition of terms. Okay, it is when you operationalize a construct like this that you will be able to devise the means for measuring it. Does it make sense?
A lot of sense.
Not all sense. Yes, which one? Which one? Are you still confused?
No, sir. In fact, you have cleared the problem here, sir.
I have cleared it, right?
Yes, you have.
So next time, when you are writing your operational definition, are you going to still define a comfortable classroom as a classroom that provides a conducive learning environment?
You have solved the problem.
Okay, so guys, you have to really operationalize your terms. And that operational definition will include how you are going to take measurements. How you are going to take measurements. In one particular concept like the concept of comfortable classroom, we have seen that there are several indicators: temperature, lighting, ventilation, acoustics, population. So it means we are going to measure all this in order to define comfortable classroom. We're going to take multiple measurements. I know very well that we cannot use the same instrument to measure all these variables. Can we? Can we use the same instrument to measure the instruments for measuring heat to measure light?
No, sir.
No.
Cannot. Neither can we use the instrument for measuring light to measure ventilation.
Yes.
Yeah. So you now know that for this particular research, you are going to need at least 5 different instruments. Are we together now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Then there's also the issue of sample and sampling. Who am I going to collect data from? Who am I going to collect data from? Where am I going to collect my data from? Who? You need to have a plan. You need to have a plan. You need to first of all define your population. And then it is that population that you want to draw your conclusions about. But are you going to collect data from the entire population? For example, the other day when we were discussing, I gave this example of Gloria. Were you there when I was giving this example of a girl want to marry two women? And they say, don't marry two men because two people beat their wife. Two men beat their wives. So the girl wants to do a research to find out whether between two men and the Igala men, which group beat their wives the most. So we now have our population is what? Tiv and Igala. Our population for this research is Tiv men. Tiv men and Igala men.
Okay.
The population is not Tiv, the population is not Igala. The population is Tiv men and what?
Igala men.
Igala men. Because this is the group that we want to draw conclusions on. What conclusion are we seeking to draw? That one group beats their wives more than the other group. And we're comparing these two groups. Now, are we going to study all Tiv men and all Igala men?
It's not possible, sir.
It's not possible. Well, it's possible, but it's very difficult.
Okay.
That research will take a long time. And it will also consume a lot of money and other resources. True or false?
True.
Yes. It takes a lot of time and consume a lot of resources. So what do? We decide that within each group, we will select a few people that we will actually collect data from. And these few people that we will select should be representative of their population. In other words, we will study few Tiv people, Tiv men, and study few Igala men. But we will select the Tiv men that we are studying in such a way that their characteristics should be representative of the Tiv men. And we will select the few Igala men that we're studying such that their characteristics will be representative of all Igala men. That is what is called a sample. A sample is a small group of the population that shares characteristics with the entire population. You understand the concept of sample now?
Yes, sir.
Good. So you are now going to determine your sampling method, your sampling plan. How do you want to recruit your participants and get your measurements for your study? You are going to consider factors like sample size, accessibility of the sample, sample size, accessibility, time frame for data collection. If you have determined that there are 3 million TIV men and 3 million Igala men, and you have decided that you cannot study 6 million people, and so you will now decide the size of your sample. Is it going to be a percentage of the entire population, or is it some other formula that you're using? Later in this course, we are going to discuss sample and sampling in more detail and how to come up with a sample size. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Then, how can you reach these people? Are they reachable? Will they allow you to collect data from them? Can you reach them? There's no use saying you're going to collect data from Ataigala when you know very well that the particular time that you're doing your research, Ataigala is not available. That you will, nobody will be allowed to visit Ataigala. Neither will you be saying that you come and ask Toti when you know very well that it will not be possible for you to reach the Toti and ask him questions. There's the issue of accessibility. Very important. I was reader for a particular work, and the researcher proposed to do a study among female prisoners in Kano State. The researcher was a Christian male. What's the problem with this?
He was joking.
He was joking, right?
Religious inclination will not allow him.
Access to female. So you see, there will be issue of accessibility. And then the time frame, how long it will take you to collect the data. Because if you say that, okay, because there are 3 million on this side, 3 million on that side, you're going to study 1 million on this side, 1 million on that side. The same problem that we had with the issue of population will crop up. Are we going to be able to study them within reasonable time? Like you're doing you're collecting data for your dissertation. You have a limited time available for you to finish your work. Will you have time so much to spend? Then there will also be the need for you to standardize your procedure. To standardize your procedure. You will find, or you will hear some researchers saying they are going to use research assistants. Okay? Now, if you are using research assistants to collect your data, how are you sure that each of them will collect the exact data in the same exact way and manner? That the data they have collected will be reliable. So there may be a need for you to write down a detailed manual of instructions on how the data should be collected in your own study, such that you are sure that if you have 10 research assistants, each one will be collecting the same data in the same way, such a way that the data will be useful. Is that okay? Yeah. So you're going to give them step-by-step, specific step-by-step instruction, and then train them so that they will collect data in a consistent way, whether experimental or survey or interview. Imagine 10 different people interviewing people. They may be asking the same question, but recording the answers in different ways. Do you notice that? So you have to pay attention to that. Then you need to create your data management plan. The data, is it going to collect people's names, ages, and private personal information? If you are collecting private personal information from your respondent, how are you going to ensure that the identity of these people is not revealed to someone that is not supposed to have access to it? Privacy issues, very ethical. How are you going to record interviews or pencil and paper writing? How are you going to transcribe what the respondents have said? How will you prevent your data from losing? I have heard stories where a student will say that I collected data, put it on a computer, and the computer crashed and all my data was lost. Have you heard of things like that? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we heard.
Yes. Some even say termite ate their questionnaire. One student came to defense, and when the panel demanded to see the copies of his questionnaire, he said termite ate all the questionnaires.
So I think that they falsified figures on that one.
Well, you are the one saying it, but that's what the student said. He said termite ate, so he doesn't have copies of the.
There are no elements of truth in that, sir.
Yeah, so finally now, when you have put all those things in place, it's now time for you to go out there and collect your data. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Getting all the relevant information as and when you obtain the data, all right? Double checking to see if there are no entry errors, and assessing the reliability and validity of your data. We'll also discuss issues of validity and reliability in another lesson. But these are two very important issues with data and data collection. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So it may be a long, boring discussion.
Not boring at all, sir.
Yeah, but these are the steps that you need to take to ensure that the data you collected for your research is going to really give you information that you answer your research question and answer it accurately.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Any questions or contributions?
No, sir. From my end, no.
Gloria? Yeah. Talk to us now. You're talking to your sister there. We notice you're talking to your sister. Is it your sister or your friend? Tell her we are greeting. Tell the person we are greeting the person too. Yeah, tell him. Let me see his face.
The person is
Hello.
afraid of camera.
How are you? Oh, Gloria's brother. Yeah.
Good
afternoon, good afternoon. How are you doing?
It's opportune to appear on a PG school camera.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir.
That's very good. Thank you. Take very good care of your sister.
All right, sir.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, do we have any other thing to discuss for today?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Francis?
this is Castro. Castro.
Okay, Castro. Yes, Castro. You have been very quiet. You are there with Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is my first time of following the class, sir.
Oh, unfortunate. We have gone a long way.
Yes, very interesting class, I must say, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. But have you been watching the videos?
Yes, I've not started, but I will, sir. I have them.
Okay,
I will,
good.
sir.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I still pray and hope that maybe at the end you will still meet one-on-one so we can recap all that.
It's your friend that caused this. Your friend wants us to be meeting online only. Our friend Lawrence.
Yes, sir. It's all right, sir.
Okay, Castro, thank you.
Thank you so much,
We'll
sir.
still meet
Sir,
face to face. Yes. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Francis.
Sir, thank you for the lecture so far, sir. I've taken a double portion of this. I've seen a little difference from the last one that you had during 2019-2020. That one was a Google Classroom, and this application is a bit different.
Yeah.
I am wondering how we respond to maybe assignment or classwork that you give us, because I don't really know how to go about it.
Yeah, I introduced the platform. I added people. Nobody has logged in, so I don't know how.
I have been logging in, sir.
Yeah, you have been logging in, but all the others, no other person has logged in. Okay, Gloria, you did.
Where the notes is.
Okay.
Yeah, the notes are there, all of them. Even this one now, they are there. I will make them available.
So I
We'll do
tried
that. We'll do that,
yesterday,
sir.
but the address that is there, I could not log in.
Okay. So what you do, if I think you need to contact me maybe on my phone or WhatsApp, and then we sort that one out.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think we can also equally have the video of this one pasted on our WhatsApp platform.
Yeah, I have been doing that, have I not?
Yeah, you really have. Yeah.
I'm going to do that so for this one. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right,
So
I appreciate it.
thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy yourselves. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you.